I've had some questions on micro chapter 3 gains from trade, the Apley assignment, so I want to talk about that just a little bit. So this question wants you to look at the gains from trade. So we've got two neighboring island countries, Arcadia and Euphoria. They each have 4 million labor hours available per month that they can use to produce jeans, rye, or a combination of both. So Arcadia can produce 8 jeans per hour of labor or 16 bushels per hour of rye per hour of labor. So the first thing you have to do when you look at that is figure out what one pair of jeans cost Arcadia in terms of rye. So when Arcadia uses resources to produce jeans, they necessarily do not use those resources to produce rye. So this is just a little math problem. So it's 8 pairs of jeans to 16 bushels of rye. So if you divide by 8, then you get 8 divided by 8, or 1 pair of jeans, and 16 divided by 8 equals 2 bushels of rye per hour of labor. So Arcadia gives up 2 bushels of rye whenever they produce 1 pair of jeans. Euphoria, divide both those by 5. When Euphoria produces a pair of jeans, they give up 4 bushels of rye. So Euphoria gives up more bushels of rye per pair of jeans than Arcadia does. That means that Arcadia is going to have a comparative advantage in producing jeans. Arcadia's cost for jeans is 2 bushels of rye. So they would not sell jeans for less than 2 bushels of rye. They're going to be more happy if it's before that. Is 2 bushels of rye. So that was 16 divided by 8, 8 divided by 8. 1 pair of jeans, 2 bushels of rye. Euphoria, 1 pair of jeans, that's 5 divided by 5, gets you 4 bushels of rye. So Arcadia has a comparative advantage in the production of jeans. That's because it only costs Arcadia 2 bushels of rye. Euphoria will have a comparative advantage in the production of rye. So what happens if they specialize in producing the good that they have the comparative advantage in? So they have 4 million labor hours available per month. So if Arcadia produces 8 pairs of jeans per hour of labor times 4 million labor hours, 8 times 4 is 32, that gets you 32 million pairs of jeans per month. Over in Euphoria, they're using their 4 million labor hours to produce 20 bushels per hour of rye. So 20 times 4 gets you 80 million bushels per month of rye. So coming back here, so what they've done is give us some terms of trade here. And the terms of trade in this case is 18 million pairs of jeans in exchange for 54 million bushels of rye. So if they do that, let's see. So the first piece of it, when the countries do not specialize, the total production of jeans was 23 million pairs per month. They just added that up based on the terms of trade here. And the total production of rye was 68 million bushels a month. So because of specialization now, our jean production has gone up by 9 million pairs per month. So it used to be 23, now it's 32. The difference is 9. We've gone up by 18 million bushels of rye. So it used to be, what did it used to be? Now it's 80 million, and it used to be 54 million. So those were our increases. So let's look at what's happened because we can trade now. So now Arcadia is going to produce an entire 32 million pairs of jeans. That's 8 times the 4 million labor hours. They're not going to produce any rye. Euphoria is not going to produce any pairs of jeans, but they're going to produce 80 million bushels of rye. That's 20 per hour times 4 million hours. So Arcadia will then export 18 million pairs of jeans and import 54 million bushels of rye. So that's an increase, or their consumption is now 14. That's 32 minus 18. Their consumption of rye is now 54. That's 0 plus 54. Same thing over here on Euphoria. That means Arcadia is now managing to consume 6 million or 6 million pairs of jeans more than they did in the past. So now they've got 14. They used to have 8. Difference between that is 6. They used to consume 48 million bushels of rye. Now they're consuming 54. That's 6 million more there also. Same exact discussion for Euphoria. So they got to consume more because they traded. Second question is very similar. Suppose that France and Austria both produce oil and wine. France's opportunity cost of producing a bottle of wine is 5 barrels of oil, while Austria's opportunity cost of producing a bottle of wine is 10 barrels of oil. So when we compare that, wine is less expensive in terms of oil than in France than it is in Austria. It only costs 5 barrels as opposed to 10 barrels. So France has a comparative advantage in the production of wine. Austria has a comparative advantage in the production of oil. So suppose they think about trading with each other. So France can gain from specialization in trade as long as it receives more than its cost in terms of barrels of oil, right? So as long as they get more than 6 barrels of oil, more than 5, all right, more than 5 barrels of oil for each bottle of wine, they should sell some wine to Austria. The flip side of that is Austria can gain for trade as long as it receives more than 1/10 of a bottle of wine for each barrel of oil it exports to France. So the cost of a bottle of wine was 10 barrels of oil in Austria. So if you divide both of those by 10, 1 barrel of oil costs Austria 1/10 of a bottle of wine. So as long as the terms of trade are between those numbers, then they should trade. So for example, if a bottle of wine costs 6 barrels of oil, they should trade. If it costs 9 barrels of oil, they should trade. So I hope this helps. Let me know.